Music Variety, 88.7 Cove FM.
All right. We're going to play another tune, and when I come back, we're going to have Cecil MacDougall and Mr. Hamblen, who's sitting across from me right now from Hamblen Studio in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, and we'll be talking about what they've been up to in the last 50 years. How's that? All right. If you just tuned in, I'm Trip Hazzard, and you're listening to the Trip Hazzard Show. We are live in Studio A in beautiful downtown Hubbard's on 88.7 Cove FM radio and around the world on covefm.com. A big shout out to my buddy who's listening in Costa Rica. Welcome to the Trip Hazzard Show. We have a couple of special guests. We have the fabulous Cecil MacDougall. And I said earlier on the show, this is my very first show with a country and Western artist and a producer, arranger, and everything else. So like Roger is here. So I was super excited.
I really do appreciate it. Anytime that we can help to promote local talent, as you do, my hat's off to you. You have my respect completely. And that's what we do as well. We try to encourage new artists to get involved, to look at different ways of promoting their music and do what we can to help them get it out there. So we're on the same page with that. We are, and that pleases me more than you know. You know, and every day when I come into the studio, I go, how can this be? How can we have so many local artists out there? And with production, now in our community, like you're doing, Roger, and it just amazes me. Like it's like having hockey players 30 years ago. There was nobody from here, from the East Coast, going and playing in the National Hockey League. And now we've got all these fabulous singers that are up and coming, and there's so many out there that still are looking for that opportunity. I think that's big. Absolutely. And for me, I've traveled much of the world listening to a lot of different musicians, and I mean qualified musicians that are so professional at what they do and so advanced. But here in Atlantic Canada, our musicians, our singer-songwriters, there's a heart here within definitely our writers that you don't hear anywhere else. I've never encountered anywhere else the heart that we have here. So we need to get that out there as much as we can and push it as far as we can. And thanks to this guy beside me here, my good buddy Roger, he's contributing to this in a lot of different ways. And I'm going to turn it over to you and just let you explain, what you do, bud. Yeah. So this is Roger Hamblen, and you're from Dartmouth. From Dartmouth. Dartmouth, born and bred. Well, Halifax, born and bred, but close enough. Close enough across the bridge. The dark side. So let's talk about that. Tell us about your project, what you're working on. First, to sort of preface that, I've watched a lot of the talent around the world and enjoyed a lot of the talent, but I will say, and I can say this quite honestly, that of all the places I have been, there is more talent in Nova Scotia per capita than anywhere else in the world. And I can say that in all honesty. So, amen to that. There's also a lot of musicians that just don't know how to take the next step. And that's kind of where Cecil and I come into it. So Cecil is kind of what I consider a talent scout. He goes out, he listens, and he has a really good ear. He knows exactly what to listen for. And then he calls me up and he says, well, I found this person, and I think that they are perfectly qualified to do what we do. So what we'll do is we'll bring them into the studio, have a listen to what they have, and we like to do all original songs, right? So cover tunes, right, we don't really do. We do original songs. So if someone is a songwriter and has the talent, then we try to take it a step further for them. We'll help them with their song. Then we produce the song for them, and we have a whole repertoire of different musicians, whatever. And we sort of take a song from start to finish with them. But we always keep in mind it's their song, so we don't want to change their song. Right. We just want to help them promote their song. And then if it's good enough, we'll take it actually and do a full music video for them also. So that's kind of what we do, and we do it for the love of music. I guess it's... And so how long have you guys been doing that? How long have you been together at in Hamblen Studios? I'd say seriously for about 2 to 3 years now. Yeah, close to 3 years now, it would be, yeah. But now, of course, I've known Cecil all my life
God, 40 years or more.
Yeah, we've been
you
friends
guys,
a long
you
time.
guys can't be that. You're not that old, no.
No, I guess not. No. Well, at least 10 years.
10 years.
Oh, this guy used to own a store in Halifax called Hamblen Audio.
Oh, I know exactly where that is.
And
I
it was on
remember
Hood
that.
Street, yeah.
Yeah.
That was Roger. And God love him, even back then, us poor struggling musicians that were having troubles putting together a box of craft dinner for supper, we'd go into his store and say, Roger, geez, I need a PA for the weekend, buddy. What can you do for us? And he'd say, well, I got one here you can use, and I suppose you want to pay me after work. I said, well, that's the way it is, Rog. And
that's
the only thing he would say to me, he'd say, here, take what you need. Just do me a favor, don't blow it up.
Yeah, don't blow it up. I bet. So now you guys have been together and doing, like you said, back in the day, and you used to bum gear from Roger. What changes have you seen in the recording industry? Like, I know if I go back 25 or 30 years, it was a few rock bands that got recorded in the metro area. Yeah. But what changes do you see that have happened over the last? Let's just go back 20 years, not 40, but let's go back 20. What changes have you seen, and what do you see coming in the future? What changes do you see?
Is that industry motivated or
an artist and
artist motivated?
Like how do we get, like you talked about, how do we get the artist to like? I go and there's go to the local venues around here, the people at the distilleries and the restaurants, and there's all kinds of individuals in there. And I know we're going to try to get them into see you or have them somebody watch them play. But is it easier? Is it harder? What's the difference of now and 20 years ago? And where do you see it going in maybe 10 years?
Well, I think in some ways it's easier today for musicians to get ahead. It's also more difficult because now it's become very corporate, which is good and bad, I guess. But I think myself, music has gone digital. It's gone much more complicated than it used to be. But what we try to do is bring back old school. We like to keep it real, keep it live. We're not adding a lot of digital stuff. We're making real music.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And I think what's happened is that they're going too much into the computer, with AI and all this stuff.
Yeah, it's coming though, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
it is.
there.
But
it's out of the box.
Real lyrics by real people, sung by real people, is always going to be, I think, what Cecil and I are going to go after.
I totally get it. I know the changes that we've seen here in our computers on this radio station, which is basically digital with CDs. But we've seen the changes too, and just in the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen the big difference. We've got some ads we're going to run, but when we come back, we're going to talk about what's going on in the industry. I want to know what's going on in the country and western industry in the Halifax Dartmouth area. So when we come back, we'll talk about that.
Absolutely.
I don't want to fall when the fear gets too much. I don't want to crash into the waves.
Real music variety. 88.7 Cove FM.
All right. Time is 1:40. If you just tuned in, I have Cecil and Mr. Hamblen. I always want to go say Mr. Hamblen. I don't know why, but Roger, you're a Mr. Roger Hamblen and Cecil MacDougall, two artists. One a fabulous country western artist, and the other big in getting it all put together. Is that
production?
A statement?
Absolutely.
Is that what happens?
Absolutely.
So we talked earlier, and one of the things I was going to ask is where do we go? What do you think is the next step in the music industry? We talked about, and I go to an event and I'm going. I went to Beerley's, for example, like a couple weeks ago, and a buddy of mine, AJ Gillis, was in there playing, and I'm going. I said to my wife, I went, how do you make money?
Yeah, exactly.
From both sides. Yeah. From both sides, it's hard. And in the old days, the guy used to sell his shirts, his T-shirts, and his albums, and then he would get paid to record, and so on and so forth. That's gone.
Well, there's some sad realities with that. The industry itself is motivated and directed by the major labels. And for an artist up and coming to get involved with that, it's almost virtually impossible. Someone within that circle has to hear you and take it to their board of directors. They get thousands of CDs and emails with WAV files on it of artists that want to break in. Most of the time, they don't even listen.
Right. I believe that.
What they're looking for is marketability. They don't care what you sing like. They don't care about talent because they can alter whatever it is needs to be altered to make that person sound good. It's a visual effect now. Pretty, handsome, well-built, something that they can take to the marketplace and sell. So visually, that's what they're doing. From a perspective of recording and doing material, there's virtually no market out there. There's no venues hardly to play other than one-night stands. Across Canada now, there's not a living playing music. All the big clubs, all the major clubs are gone.
Yeah.
I mean, even the Horseshoe in Toronto is down to one night a week. It's sad. So that part of the industry is gone. So from my perspective, if you want to make a name in music, you need to promote yourself as best you can, which means record. Get your music recorded. Take it to venues just like this.
Exactly.
You guys are the ones that are going to be the future, the independent radio stations that bring talent forward as opposed to finding a way to make $1 off that person. You guys are the ones that are going to make the difference, because when artists like myself or, this lady that you just played for us was amazing. I totally enjoyed the song. We need you guys to say, okay, here's talent that you're not hearing. Put us out there and let us stand on our own 2 feet. If our music is good enough to be heard and radio stations such as this like what they hear and they promote it, that's the best way that we can possibly help ourselves, is to do that, because the industry wants nothing to do with us.
No, that's right. And I think that's the thing about being on a community radio station like ours. We are one of 4 radio stations on the South Shore. And we are the only nonprofit radio station. And everything that we make goes into technology to try to make a better sound, to promote local business, local artists. That's why we exist. Yeah. Somebody asked me a while ago, like, why do you guys exist? Well, we exist so we can play your music on our station. That's what we're here for.
Well, that's wonderful.
That's what we're here for. Yeah. You promote your business, you support us, we'll promote your business, and then that'll enable us to play local artists.
I think music is getting into and has been in the computer world, let's say, for a number of years. I think that's good for some, not good for others. Mm-hmm. The real problem is it's not necessarily heartfelt music. And I think that the younger people now are starting to go back to the 60s and the 70s and the 80s music, because now it's different. So I truly believe if we all keep doing what we're doing, we'll revive music. And now I have a few ideas of how to actually allow the artists to start selling their music, because let's face it, right now on a stream you make 2 cents or something.
Oh, if that, I think.
You're lucky, I suppose.
Yeah, I think you're lucky if you make 2 cents.
A friend of mine has been in the business for years and years as an artist. I won't mention any names, but he used to get royalty checks in the thousands. His last royalty check was $45.
My last one was $2.06.
Well, there you go.
Was
you
it?
can take that to the bank.
I put the check away. I didn't bother cashing it.
I think the good news is that the younger people are starting to listen to what I call real music again. Not all of the over-processed, over-analyzed, over-marketed,
produced.
produced.
LPs, I think LPs are coming back too. I that.
Well, vinyl, there's a whole bunch of little things that are starting to come together to build up, and I think that the savior to music is going to be, like Cecil and you said, the community radio stations. Mm-hmm. The stations that aren't forced to play whatever they're given. And I think that's going to be the savior of real music, because if we don't do something, it's going to disappear.
Well, yeah, exactly. And people ask me, I'm also the sales guy for the radio station, and people say, well, what kind of music do you play? And I went, oh, okay, so this is what happens at a community radio station. We play whatever you want. What do you mean? Well, we play everything. We're like an old time radio station from the 60s that you turned on and you would have a country tune and a pop tune and a rock and roll tune back to back to back. It's like old time radio. And that's sort of our format in this station. And if you go for people that are listening, and if you have your favorite artist, local artist, you can go on and listen to them, because there are a country show, we have a blues show, we have a rock show, we have my show, an indie alternative band type music, indie guys that are just up and coming, and new music by new bands and new music by old bands. That's sort of my theme, on my shows, and that's why we're different. And I think community radio's back to that. I think it's important.
I agree. I think it's essential. And what Roger's doing with his studio, it just ties into everything that you guys do, because it's originality. It's people who are creative, and they're not being stifled by an industry that won't listen. And, as an artist and as a writer, the greatest compliment that can be given to somebody is somebody to just listen to the song, and say, wow, that was well written. That was well done. I enjoyed that. It's the best compliment you can give to an artist. And Roger is putting a stage where that can be done, where these artists can come in and feel the music because they wrote it. So the heart that needs to be in that song is already there. And to encapsulate that and put it into a system where it can be heard, that's where the magic is. And that's what's going to sustain music. I think the big industries are going to crash. I really do. There's, monetarily, they're getting all the money they can. Any artist, they'll take for a year or 2 years till they can't make any more money, and they're dropped. Where's the reward there? Where's the talent that should be put forward?
Sure. And I know if you look at the in the Halifax, Dartmouth metro area, the St. Margaret's Bay, I guess we're part of we are metro now. And you look at the stations. There's 3 or 4 community radio stations, and every time you look on there, there's a top 30 and there's a top 20, and everything is all East Coast. It's all East Coast music.
Wow.
That's. That. But if you go to the others, there's no such thing.
No.
there's no such thing. And Buddy that works for one station also works for 6 others. He's on. It's just different.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Not that we're criticizing the other stations. That is who they work for. They work for a corporate.
Absolutely.
And that's how they do it. It's if you want to listen to the top 10 in Canada or North America, you turn on the local radio station.
But I often wonder who makes the top 10
in
the corporate world.
You know what happens?
Yeah. Well, it's like I do it. I go. I did a top. I was going to do a top 20 at the end of the year, and all East Coast, all Canadian, and then ended up with 65 different artists. And I was in the top 20. I went, what the hell? We'll do a top 65. And that's what I ended up doing, because I couldn't pick any. They're all fabulous. Yeah. It's amazing.
What an opportunity for your listener to vote on who they like.
Exactly. We're going to do that next year. We're going to get might have to get a computer or a pen and paper to write all the people that called in. Anyway, it's all good. And I see the difference. I see it changing. And I was really excited you guys came in, because I think it's important. How do people that are listening to this or have friends that are musicians, how do they reach out to you guys? That's important. How do they find you?
Well, there's one way that this can be done. I have an email address, and I have contact information there. I'll be more than happy to provide that to your station.
Sure. Okay.
So that if somebody wants to reach out, they have a way to do that. And I'll be more than happy to meet with them, to listen to their music. And again, not to be critical of anybody by doing that, because there's no such thing as a bad writer or a bad song. It's a question of, what does the song hold? Does it have, you want it to be radio friendly for sure. You don't want to insult any groups by lyrical content. So there's things that have to be listened to and adhered to. But if I hear quality in vocals, in lyrical content, then I'll be more than happy to open the door to Roger and say, here, you should probably have a listen to this and see what you think. But if for some reason they're not what is required, then I'll never insult anybody. I'll never put anybody down. I would just say, from a personal standpoint, I don't think that you're at a point in your career
right. You're not
ready to move forward.
Right.
When you achieve that experience, for lack of a better word, then I'm more than happy to listen to you. And if they want suggestions, as a veteran songwriter and a veteran musician, I'd be more than willing to sit down and talk to these folks and say, look, if you could think about it from a different perspective and look at it like this and apply it to what you're doing, perhaps it'll work better for you. But always willing to reach out a hand and help.
Yeah, we can make that happen because anybody that's out there right now that's listening, if you want to get more information from Cecil or Roger, then you can send us an email at studio@covefm.com. And I look at the studio at Cove FM all the time, and then I can take that information and I can put you in contact with Cecil and Roger. How's that?
Now, we also have an artist page on Facebook.
Okay, what's that called?
It's just Hamblen Productions.
Okay.
And we have a multitude of music videos that we've produced for YouTube. So
and is that under Hamblen?
That's under Roger Hamblen.
Roger Hamblen on YouTube.
Type that into YouTube, you get a whole playlist that comes up. But on the artist page is all the information for contact, phone numbers, emails. So I kind of look at like if you're trying to start a business, there's always a stage where you're ready to start getting serious about it, right? And as you ran your own business for a number of years, you know what that's all about.
Absolutely.
So, for example, if someone came in and they wanted to buy a lawn tractor and you sold heavy equipment, you might send them somewhere else. Same
exactly.
sort of thing. You want to make sure they're ready before you try to take them to the next step, because that's not fair to us or them if they're not ready, because they'll just get frustrated and give up on the whole
thing. Sure, I totally get that. Yeah.
That's an excellent explanation for it. Thank you. I was kind of stumbling on my words there, trying to get it out.
That's okay.
You pulled me out of the fire, Raj. I really appreciate that, buddy. Thank you. You're a wonderful man.
So Hamblen Productions, Hamblin.
Everyone
Hamblen.
gets that wrong.
Okay, Hamblen with the E. Productions on Facebook. And you can get all the information that you need there.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. And if you guys forget that, of course, I will mention that as we go forward on my other shows. And that if they want to reach out, they can reach out on studio at Cove FM, and then I can forward that to you.
And Trip, if you come across anyone that you feel is extremely talented, then send them our way. And
absolutely.
Maybe we can do something. Maybe we can. Maybe we can't.
And I've seen, you know what? Over the years, I've gone into small bars and gone, oh my goodness, that guy's good or that gal's good. And then I walk out and never hear from them again. I don't know what happened to them, but I said, that guy's going to go someplace, or, we have so many. So many artists.
I often listen to what you would call an exceptional artist. And I know so many people that are every bit as exceptional, but they just didn't get the chance.
Exactly.
Right? So
that's in life. You need to.
Life.
You need to break, and I think you guys are good. You're doing that. You're going to give people a break that live in our listening area in Halifax, Dartmouth, and so you can be part of that. If you are an artist out there and you want to take your music connections, you want to take it to the next level, then there's an opportunity here for you in the HRM right now.
Well, there you go.
There you go. You see Cecil, you see Roger. There it is, guys.
Hey.
So, and everybody, you know what? I think it's important that everybody can spread the word. And I think anybody that's listening, it's same thing. They might know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. And it's easy. Hamblen Productions on Facebook. You can go on there. You can talk to people, and you can figure out how to take your musical career to the next level. There it is.
There you go.
That's how simple it is. We're getting the message out to the listeners of 88.7 Cove FM radio and around the world that are listening on covefm.com. All right. Before we go, I want to play another tune. and I got a couple ads I got to run.
Did you know that community radio stations in Canada broadcast in more than 65 different languages? This is where stories come alive and where we come together. But as big international media dominates the spotlight, local news and local voices struggle to be heard. Our government must help these local stations continue to do what they do best, serve the unique needs of our communities. We're asking you to go support the Community Radio Initiative at mycri.ca. Stand with us for Community Radio Future.
Serving Hubbards, Chester, St. Margaret's Bay, and surrounding communities. This is 88.7 CKVE FM.
If you just tuned in, you missed a good show. This is the Trip Hazzard Show. This is show number 3, and I've been very lucky to have Cecil and Roger in here talking about how everybody can get involved in music if you would like to. And we'll talk more about that as the weeks go on. But I've got Cecil here, and as I mentioned earlier, Cecil is in the Nova Scotia country. What's is the Nova Scotia
Country
Music Hall of Fame. That's quite a thing.
Yeah, it's quite an honor, actually. It's very humbling to be nominated. Was something within itself. A gentleman by the name of Ray Hill from Seaside FM,
right,
nominated me for this, and to be accepted is again, it's an honor because there's so many out there that are deserving of being a part of that. A couple come right to mind immediately: Eric McRoberts, Meredith McCullough, another one, Ray Hill's one that should be in there, and posthumously Mickey Lane. And so to be, chosen for that award is very much an honor and very much appreciated.
Do they have a facility for that? Do they have a building? I don't know. Do they have a place where your photo is on display? I don't know anything about that. I know the Sports Hall of Fame.
What I was told is that there's some paraphernalia in the Hank Snow Museum or in the same area where he is located. Right. Now, whether that's accurate or not, I'm unsure. So
that's on my bucket list too, to go to the Hank Snow Museum.
That's something I should do too, is check that out.
It's Liverpool, right?
Yes.
That's where it is. Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so every artist has to start somewhere. So I know you're 39-ish, and so you've been at this for a while.
Yes,
just like all of us.
Me too, yeah.
Just like all of us. It's funny how when you're on radio, nobody really knows that you're not really 39.
I've got a perfect face for radio.
Yes, I do too, as well. I do as well. So somebody must have been an influence to you when you started, Cecil. Somebody must have been either your father in the kitchen or somebody that you knew. How did you? Who got you going in country music?
Well, for me, very young. They tell me, I don't remember it, but I used to grab the corn broom at my grandmother's and play it like a guitar and try to sing. Don't remember it, so I was pretty young. But in actuality, my oldest brother, Frank, he got a guitar when he was about 11. I think I was 5. And he wanted to play, and he learned 3 chords and then put it down. So I was always at his guitar anyway. So he gave it to me, and he showed me those 3 chords. And I was away. I was like a sponge then. Whoever would play that I knew, I was there and watched them. And my biggest influence, and I think my ultimate biggest fan, was my mom. And she was a hardcore country music fan. So I was raised on Hank Williams, Jimmy Rogers, and all the gentlemen and ladies from that era. And I grew an affinitive love for it. Started writing young. At 12, I had my first band that actually played. It was called the Short of Cash Band.
It's sort of fitting today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still, still there, right? And played my first lounge when I was 14, which was the El Strato Lounge in Halifax on Gottingen Street.
Oh my goodness, I remember that place.
You remember the El Strato, the Last Chance Hotel?
I was only 7 when I snuck in.
Yeah. I played there at 14. And it just bloomed from there. And luckily through, benevolent people like Ray Hill, I mentioned Ray a couple of times. He taught me how to play my first Waylon Jennings song, showed me my E minor chord that I had no idea even existed back then. But it's through him and a guy named Joe Slomwhite, who was an impeccable guitar player, Merle Travis fingerstyle type picking. He showed me a lot of things. So it's through the benevolence of a lot of great people, musicians that I was encountered with and had an opportunity to work with. A gentleman like Paul Bento, who has a studio in the Valley. David McColl, who was a part of Berkeley University, studied with Jeff Healy. So, I had an opportunity to work with these people. Mike Rose, Wade Brown, who was Dutch's guitar player for years, taught Garrett to play. Learned something from every one of them. And thankful for them. They've helped me on my journey to bring me to where I am. And it's just so appreciated that, I can't thank them enough. And
you're still learning.
I'll never stop, I hope.
Everybody still learns.
But, for me, it was always my policy to be the weakest link in any group that I worked with. If I was the weakest link, then I had to up my game to be on par with these guys. So it was something that I consciously did. And, here I am.
Here you are.
And I loved it.
And it sort of brings us around to this brand new CD. Tell us about that one. Tell us about this.
Well, on that album, there's songs that I've written 30 years ago. And I wanted to put together an album of songs that mean something to me, that I could leave as a legacy for my daughter and my two grandsons. So it's my life in song. Every song on there tells a story about some aspect of my life. And I just wanted to share that.
Perfect. So we're going to play one. We're going to play the number 3 on this thing, this CD, The Angels Took Her Home. Tell us about that. How did that come about?
Well, I have a first cousin. His name was Chuck Gillis, who was in the military his whole life, did Germany, and lived in Kelowna, BC. About 4 years ago, Chuck's wife passed away, and he decided to move home. So he did, and we got together several times. Chuck played as well. And he told me the story about how he felt after his wife passed and the journey that took him to moving home. And I knew there was a country song in there somewhere. So I wrote that, and it's in memory of Chuck, who is now with his deceased wife, Daisy. Chuck passed away last summer. So, that's where it came from. It's okay. Chuck's story.
All right, so we're going to play that. This is a brand new album, folks. My Life in Song by Cecil MacDougall. Thanks, guys, for coming in. I really do appreciate it. And I think everybody, all the listeners out there, they've learned something today.
Could I send out a special shout to Sharon?
Absolutely.
I want to thank Sharon for joining the dots for Roger and I to come out here and meet Trip and be a part of this show. Roger and I both appreciate that very much. Sharon, thank you.
All right. So, guys, we'll see you somewhere in some bar, some show, somewhere down the road like we all do. Folks, this is off the latest album from Cecil MacDougall. This is The Angels Took Her Home, and I know you're going to enjoy it. Thanks, guys, for coming in.
Pleasure to meet you, Trip.
Thanks for coming in, guys.
Sun's on the horizon, world keeps spinning round. My bags are packed, leaving, nothing left here in this town. I'll run, but I can't hide. I'll hold her in my dreams tonight. The road that lies before me, travel alone. She was always there, strong. She's gone. Angels called her home. I'd give all that I own to hold her one more time. See her smiling face, feel the love that was mine. She's gone. I'll hold her in my dreams tonight. There's nothing I can do. There is no wrong or right. The house we called home is fading out of sight. She's gone. I'll hold her in my dreams tonight. She's gone. I'll hold her in my dreams tonight. I'll run but I can't hide. I'll hold her in my dreams tonight.